We're trying to sign into YouTube. Okay, good morning, everybody. The Committee on Parole is called to order. Today is Tuesday, November 19th, 2024. It's 9:08 a.m. The parole panel is seated at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, thanks to Dr. Kay and the great folks here at ULL. Secretary Westcott had some opening remarks this morning. We appreciate him and all the probation and parole officers that also have helped make today a reality. I think it'll be a meaningful experience for the folks here at ULL and the folks who are appearing before us today. My name is Cheryl Renatz. I'm serving as chairman of today's parole panel. My colleagues on the panel today, seated to my left is Mr. Danny Barra, and to my right is Mrs. Jerry Ledoux. We're kind of working a split system here. We have some folks working with us at DOC headquarters and some staff also here in the room with us to keep us on track. So bear with us if there are any technical issues. We're going to try to work through them really quickly. It's 9:09 a.m. and we are ready to begin our hearings at the police barracks. That's our first remote location this morning. So I'd like for the staff at the barracks, please, to introduce yourself for the record.
Lisa Prejean, classification.
Patrick Washington, captain.
Okay, and Mr. Mingo, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC.
Melvin Mingo, Louisiana State Police Barracks. DOC number 367430.
All right, and let me acknowledge some folks that you're represented by Counsel. She's located at DOC headquarters in Baton Rouge. Would you introduce yourself for the record, please, ma'am?
Good morning, board. I'm actually from the office today, so I'm just on Zoom. I did not go to headquarters. Adrienne Hutchison, attorney for the Louisiana Parole Project, counsel for Mr. Melvin Mingo.
Thank you.
And if I may, I do need to clarify the speakers. I think there may have been some extras added, but the speakers today will be Mr. Andrew Huntley, Miss Sierra Austin, and Mr. Sean Toussaint.
Thank you.
And I'll reserve my comments for the end. Thank you, board.
All right, thank you. Also joining us by Zoom is Carrie Myers with the Parole Project. Here with us in Lafayette is Mr. Huntley with the Parole Project, Anthony Hingle by Zoom, Megan Kraft, Chantel Hogan, Joseph Landix, Terrence Wynn, also by Zoom. At headquarters at DOC in Baton Rouge, we have Sammy Crawford, Sean Toussaint, Deshunsky Moore, Jackie King, Barbara Wright, Keith Morse, Terrence Simon, Linda West, Sierra Austin, Calvin Mingo, and Kawada Rosby, all who are here in support. There's no one present today in opposition. So, Mr. Mingo, let me explain to you, and for the benefit of those who are here with us, I'm going to explain to you the process. I'm going to read some identifying information into the record, after which I'll ask you to verify it if it's accurate. Then we'll ask you to take a moment and tell us why you think we should vote favorably for you today. We'll hear from the captain, we'll hear from the folks that want to speak on your behalf, and then we'll ask your attorney for her presentation. Your case has been assigned to Mr. Barra, so he'll take the lead on the parole interview. You ready to begin?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Mingo, as stated, Your DOC number is 367430. You're currently serving a life sentence. You were sentenced in August of 1996 to a life sentence for a second-degree murder conviction. You do have a parole eligibility date, which is passed. It's August 1st, 2017. Is that information correct, Mr. Mingo?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Take a moment now and tell us why you think we ought to vote for you today.
Well, I understand that you don't have to grant me parole, but when I was incarcerated at the age of 16, I come to prison with an 8th grade education. No discipline, no purpose. But since my incarceration, I committed myself to making myself better since the crime that I committed. I now have my GED. I have over 25 certifications. I have 4 certifications in hazmat, pesticide control, and I did everything that I possibly could to do and make myself a better person, not only for me, but for my family as well. I have kids and grandkids, and I hold myself full accountable for making sure that they never go through this or put another family through this here what I have done. And if I am granted the opportunity, the goal that I've set for myself, the discipline that I have now, and my purpose in life, I'll continue to apply them tools to my life to make sure that I'm successful upon my release and granted release.
All right. Thank you, sir. Captain, what can you tell us about Mr. Mingo?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for coming to visit us today. As you all know, the State Police Barracks is a very unique setup. We have the ability to get to know these gentlemen on a level unlike most other institutions. And what I'm saying right now goes to the character of both of the men that y'all will see this morning. Mr. Mingo and Mr. Goodwin are 2 of the hardest working people I've ever met in my life, and they do their jobs with gratitude. If you have the opportunity to have a personal conversation with either one of these gentlemen, you'll see they're not the people they were when they came to prison. I know that they both committed crimes, and I know that they had a debt to pay, but I also know the people that sit next to me. And this man right here is an amazing person, not just because of what he does here, but he's an amazing person to get to know. They had a gentleman, if you will allow me to tell a quick story, had a gentleman come here who thought maybe when he got here and he saw Mingo's last name that his victim was related. And that guy went up to him and tried to talk to him. And instead of Mingo doing like a lot of people incarcerated would do, he didn't brush him off. He took the time to get to know the young man, and they conversate every day. It meant a great deal to him, and it meant a great deal to me that someone who had nothing to do with what that guy was talking about took the time to not only help him get past some hurt that was in his past, but they help him transition into being in a place like this. We are very unique. We do everything we can to set these gentlemen up to prepare for this day, the opportunity to be a productive member of society. And I have no doubt that if y'all grant Twin this opportunity, Mr. Mingo, everybody calls him Twin, but if y'all grant this opportunity to him, I'm 100% sure that he will be successful.
State your remarks. Now we'll hear from the folks who want to speak in support. First, we'd like to hear from Mr. Hunley.
Andrew Hunley with Louisiana Parole Project, appearing before the board today to confirm that Melvin is a client of Louisiana Parole Project. As this board's well aware, Melvin is parole eligible based on Miller versus Alabama and Act 277 of the 2017 legislative session. Melvin had a parole hearing 2.5 years ago that we attended and supported him on. As the board's aware, he was 1 vote short of being granted parole at that time. We remain in Melvin's corner for the same reasons we were initially with him, based on the amount of time that he's served and what he's done with that time. We feel like he has prepared himself to be a good member of the community when he comes home, based on his record of rehabilitation, based on his commitment to programs and education during his incarceration. But even more importantly, since that denial 2.5 years ago, as this board's aware, oftentimes people will falter after their denials. Melvin, on the other hand, kept growing. Since his denial, he was placed at State Police Trustee Barracks, where he became a Class A trustee. As was mentioned, he has gained several certifications, including hazmat and pesticide licenses, that he would be able to use for employment purposes upon release. Our plan as an organization, if he is granted parole, would be to have Melvin come to our program in Baton Rouge and complete phase 1 of our program. Melvin has residence opportunity with his father in Georgia, so we would assist Melvin to complete his ICOTS to that approved address in Georgia, and work with the Louisiana and Georgia authorities to ensure that his transition from Louisiana to Georgia is smooth, and that he has opportunities and relationships in Georgia that would aid in to ensure that he had employment and pro-social opportunities there. Long story short, our organization's totally committed to Melvin's reentry and helping him with his transition with any conditions that the board may deem appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Ms. Sierra Austin.
Good morning. I'm Sierra Austin. On behalf of our family and friends, I come to speak on Melvin Mingo's behalf. I'd like to first say Melvin has an amazing support system, as you can see from the amount of people that's here today present in this room. Over the years, I've watched Melvin grow, not only for himself, but for his children and family as well. He has always maintained a relationship with his family. Melvin has a great support system when coming home. He has work lined up for him, as well as a stable place to live. We, his family and friends, plan to support him in any way possible, even if he goes to his dad in Georgia. We're only a phone call and a drive away. We understand that a life was taken, and for that, we as his family and support system are sorry from the bottom of our hearts. We also lost Melvin from our family and our daily lives. I know it doesn't compare, but I know he's sorry as well, and it wasn't his intention. We ask that you see what we see in him and allow him to have a chance at parole.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. We appreciate your remarks. And then we have Sean Toussaint.
Good morning. My name is Sean Toussaint, and I'm speaking on behalf of Melvin Mingo. Just like Melvin, I made a terrible decision as a teenager, and I took a life. I was given a life sentence without the possibility of parole for my crime, which I committed at 17 years old, and I went to Angola. To say I was scared would be an understatement. When I arrived at Angola, Melvin was already there. He stepped up to make sure I was okay and helped me adjust. Together with some of the other juvenile lives, we made a decision. We decided that we would not allow ourselves to die in prison, the same person we were when we committed our crimes. We would use whatever tools that was given to us to better ourselves and do it. Melvin was already well on his way to changing when I arrived. He was already training in boxing. When we began to have the opportunity to take programming and finish our education, we did that as a group, Melvin included. We held each other accountable to better ourselves. Together we stayed out of trouble, we finished our education, we took programming, and we grew from troubled teens to become great men. We did this with no idea that we would ever get an opportunity to go home. I can say all this confidently, as this very audience has some juvenile life like Melvin and like myself, that came before this board to show growth and rehabilitation. and that we are no longer the same kids that committed these crimes that we were given a second chance. Today, because this board saw the change in us, we are now fathers, homeowners, employers, business owners, and much more. We pay our taxes, we pray, we help each other, and we never forget the ones we left behind. The success we have today, Melvin is a part of that success because he helped us become successful on our journey. For 26 years, Melvin and I grew up together. He helped me on so many ways adjusting to prison. We kept each other focused, we encouraged each other, we never let each other give up on our goals. We all did this for each other. And today we are here to express to this board that we are still here for him, to help him remain focused and not get discouraged, to help him adjust to the world, just like he helped me adjust when I entered that door. We are here to support him in any way we can because none of us take this opportunity for granted. This is who we were for each other while we were incarcerated, and this is who we remain to be. Thank you for believing in me and believing in us, because we can do better for the better. I am here because the same change the Lord saw in me and in us and granted us relief exists in Melvin. And our prayers are that this board sees him and grant him relief. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Hutchinson, we'd like to hear from you now.
Good morning, board. As you know, Melvin has been incarcerated for 3 decades now. He's far removed from the 16-year-old he was at the time he committed the crime. At just 5'4" tall, Melvin has jumped through large hurdles. Like he said, when he entered prison, he had an 8th grade education. But what I think is important is that he fought from 2005 to 2021 to obtain his GED. Now, I'm not sure if everybody is familiar with the process to obtain your GED, but you can take the test, and over time, if they determine that you have not made enough progress, you'll be taken out of the program and have to reapply. Melvin did this from 2005 to 2021, not seeking a waiver, but wanting to actually obtain his GED. As Mr. Huntley stated, Melvin comes before this board because of Miller. And there are 3 things that Miller talks about when discussing juvenile offenders, and that's their lack of maturity, and their vulnerability or susceptibleness to negative influences, which we always can see were readily available at the time of the crime. But the last thing that Miller talks about is that character is not well formed in juvenile offenders, that they will likely not stay the same person that they were at the time that they committed the crime, and that they can and do change. And I believe that we see that in Melvin. And that's why when we look at juvenile offenders, we look for their rehabilitation and their maturity. And some of those things that we look at is their institutional compliance. In 30 years, Melvin has 7 write-ups. That's unheard of, and that's likely why he was such a good candidate to go to the barracks. The officer that spoke discussed how he believed Melvin would be 100% successful should he be released. And if you look inside that packet, there are numerous letters from individuals at the state police barracks who also feel the same. And that community is very small. As you know, the barracks can only hold less than 2% of the incarcerated population. So they're very particular in who they take in. You'll be able to talk to Melvin today about boxing and what the difference between boxing and fighting, and the discipline and the sacrifice that it requires, and how he took those skills and moved them into learning how to better himself. That same discipline, that same sacrifice in his work ethic, in his substance abuse, in his relationships with his family, all those are present in Melvin today, and all of them prove his growth and rehabilitation. He has a strong reentry plan through the Louisiana Parole Project, and he will not be residing in Louisiana. Additionally, we will be able to support him in transferring his pesticide license to Georgia. They do have reciprocity with Louisiana, so we will be able to bring that over, but he already has employment with United Farmers. I believe that information was sent over to you, but he has many options. He has an immense amount of family here to support him. And as we know, individuals that go in as juveniles come back into the world as adults. And that support is immensely important. And Melvin has an abundance of it. He also has an abundance of support from juvenile lifers who, like him, have come out and done well, as Mr. Toussaint has said. And they are here to support him as he supported them when they entered prison. And so for all these reasons, the reasons within the brief, and when you get to opportunity to talk to Mr. Mingo, we ask that you believe in him also and provide him a second chance. And I am available to clear up any questions or concerns at the end if needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, Mr. Mingo, your case has been assigned to Mr. Byra. Would you answer his questions, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning.
Come
Before
on.
I start with questions, I've got to put a little summary of the offense on the record. Mr. Mingo and 5 other individuals traveled from Baton Rouge, Louisiana to Darrow, Louisiana on October 3rd, 1994. The purpose of the trip was to arm rob an individual named Claude Owens of drugs and money. At approximately 3 a.m., Mingo and other members of the group were dropped off to be lookouts. The robbery did not go as planned, as there were people present in the street at the time. Mingo ran into Charles Owens, the victim, and while holding a rifle on him, Mingo made him lay down on the ground. Mingo shot him at point blank range with the rifle while he was trying to retreat under the house to shield himself. Mingo was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the benefit of probation, parole, or suspension of sentence for that crime. Why did you shoot Mr. Owens and not just let him crawl under the house and hide?
Well, that night that the robber was playing, a friend of mine named Kendrick Mills came to me and told me about this robber that he had playing with some other guys that was from that area. The robber, a drug dealer by the name of Claude Gray. And as a friend, he asked me to go with him, and I agreed. And on our way there, we got there. Kendrick said that he had to use the bathroom, so they let him out the car. And the other guy, I can't remember which one it was giving us instructions about what he wanted our road to be as lookouts. And when he let us out the car, if I'm not mistaken, a truck that was right there that we shielded ourselves behind. And when Kendrick and Ronald DeLose came around the corner with the other victim that was shot, Mr. Ronald Williams, I seen Mr. Charles Owens running in their direction with his hand under his shirt. So I approached him with the rifle. And I brought him on the side of the house to get him out of the way from the other guys that was in that area. And seconds later, gunshots started to be fired. And when I looked, Mr. Owens attempted to grab the gun, and we had a tussle over the gun. And the gun discharged and fired, and I shot Mr. Charles Owens. And I broke out running back towards the car, and we left. And minutes later, we was arrested by Gunnersville Police Department.
All right. I see that at your last hearing, they recommended that you take victim awareness classes again, but I don't see in the record that that was completed. Did you do that again since the last hearing?
Since my last hearing, I was transferred to the police barracks. And when the program was about to get started, I don't know what it was with the complications of it, but I was required to take it. But they don't have that program. It is not implemented yet, but I was required to take it.
Did you take any more classes since the last hearing?
Yes, sir. Since I've been here, I have took hazmat, which I acquired 2 certifications in hazmat, and I have 3 certifications in substance abuse, AA and NA. And I'm also the secretary of the Toastmaster Club here.
All right.
Mr.
Also,
Darrell, speak to the victim awareness class. We had a gentleman working here from DOC who was getting ready to start that, and then he took a different job. It took a little while for them to get another person here to teach the class, and he had no training in that. We are still working on getting someone to teach the class like victim awareness, but we don't have anybody to do it yet.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Also, for the record, it needs to be noted that you are a true first offender. And that's all the questions I had.
Mr. Mingo,
Yes, ma'am.
there were 5 individuals who were involved in this crime. 2 of them have passed away, one after he was paroled, another while he was in prison. One is currently on parole. One was paroled and returned to custody in 2014. But of all of those individuals, all of your co-defendants, they received 30 years or less for that crime. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You're the only one that received life, and that's because they matched your weapon with the weapon found, the bullet found in the victim. Is that what, am I getting this all correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you've been at the barracks since 2023?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Captain, would you share a little bit about how people are selected for the barracks duty?
Yes, ma'am. It goes by a couple of different ways. Sometimes we get recommendations from wardens or assistant wardens at certain facilities. Sometimes the individuals write us letters. Twing was recommended from Angola. We went to interview him. Several of the assistant wardens, deputy wardens spoke on his behalf. And one of the people in the classification who we value her opinion a lot because she deals with the guys mostly every day, recommended him and told us that he would be a great fit for our program. So when we talked to him, we got that same feeling. It's a very difficult program to be in. I think Ms. Hutchinson spoke to the fact, I think it's less than 1% actually of incarcerated individuals in the state of Louisiana get to come here. They write letters, we review their criminal history, we interview them, we check medical, and after that, we talk to the people who they work with every single day to get their take on how the individual is and how they would, whether or not that they believe they'd be a good fit for our program. Twin got all positives. Nobody said anything that would prevent us from wanting to bring him to our program. And so it's a difficult process to get here. Sometimes it takes up to 6 months for someone to be vetted to get into the program. So to be here, it speaks a lot to the individuals. We're not perfect. We make mistakes. There are people who make it through the cracks and don't survive, but it's a challenging program to get into.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mingo, I sat on your panel in 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think it was me who recommended the victim awareness class. I mean, I voted to deny. And my notes say this on that vote sheet. Your version of the story were inconsistent with the statements on circumstances of the crime. You had strong opposition from law enforcement, the district attorney, and the victims, and that opposition is still there. And now we have also the Attorney General's office has weighed in, and they're also opposed. But I did say Mr. Mingo is encouraged to stay on track and reapply when eligible to do so, and you've done that. And I was concerned about the victim awareness because I didn't see it in the record either, but Captain Washington has explained that. We did also encourage you then to participate, if you could, in an accountability letter program. Have you done that? Or do it
Yes,
available?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Renas, I have victim awareness from Angola, and I also have the victim accountability letter writing class from Angola as well.
Okay, thank you. And I noted a notation by the district attorney in the most recent parole investigation. And it says that office questions your level of rehabilitation when as late as court filings in 2020 claim innocence. Can you comment on that?
Could you say it again?
Okay, the DA questions your level of rehabilitation when as late as court filings in 2020, you claim innocence.
I don't recall that, Ms. Renassa, and since the day we was arrested, even in the police report, I admitted to my part in that crime of taking Mr. Charles Owen's life, and I never recall saying that I was innocent for killing Mr. Charles because I accepted my responsibility for that, and I knew it was no way that I could possibly prove that I was innocent, so I would have never have took that approach with that matter.
Okay, well, I appreciate you clearing that up for us. I don't have any other questions, Mr. Byron. Ms. Levitt.
So, Mr. Mingo, reflecting on that time, you know, we hear a lot from other people about you, but I want to hear again in your own words how you feel about what happened that day and its impact on the victim's family. So could you tell me in your words how you feel about what happened that day and its impact on the family?
When I think about when I was arrested at the age of 16, as I sit here the day before y'all, almost a 50-year-old man, I had a lot of time to reflect on my actions, and I also had time to reflect on what Mr. Babin said in my last hearing about Mr. Owens living with the grief of losing his son until he passed away. And as a father with a daughter who was raped, it was a privilege for me to be there for her through them trying times and tough days, for her to be able to console her. And I regret that I never got the opportunity to tell Mr. Owens how sorry I was for not giving, for taking that opportunity away from him, of being able to be there for his son to console him, because I took that opportunity away from him by taking Mr. Charles Owen's life. And that's something that I regret. That's something I'm truly sorry for, and that's something that'll be with me forever. That I never got a chance to say that I'm sorry for all the pain and trauma that I caused the Owens family and their community as well.
Thank you.
All right, I don't see any other questions. Is the panel prepared to vote? Mr. Byron?
Board, may I please clear up some things?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, Ms. Hutchinson.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. Victim awareness was taken in 2019. The victim accountability letter was taken in November of 2021. Just so the board is aware, the Louisiana Parole Project has obtained the curriculum for victim impact, listen, and learn. If the board were to grant Mr. Mingo's release, we could provide him with that program before he ICOTs to Atlanta and provide the board with a certificate for that program. It would be conducted by our licensed social worker at the Parole Project. And regarding the crime itself, and I'm not sure if y'all have access to it, but on page 9 of my brief, I do provide a brief transcript, a brief summary from the transcript from the actual hearing for Mr. Mingo, where Mr. Felix Green, who was the only eyewitness to the actual shooting, states when he testifies against Mr. Mingo that he saw the man grab for the gun and pull it when it went off, indicating that there was actually a struggle at the time. Additionally, I do have a copy of Mr. Mingo's post-conviction relief from 2020. The claims cited in that post-conviction relief were not for any actual innocence claims, but rather petitioner was denied a state constitutional right for judicial review because the petitioner had ineffective assistance at counsel when they failed to file his motion of appeal. So he did not get the opportunity to have his direct appeal. So that was his 2020 post-conviction relief that was filed in the courts. So not necessarily an actual innocence claim, but just the inability to access the next level, which is his direct appeal on his second-degree murder conviction. So those were just the things that I wanted to clear up before the board voted. And if y'all have any other questions, I'm available. Thank you.
I appreciate the clarification. Thank you. Mr. Barrow.
Well, like's already been stated, we have strong law enforcement opposition and the DA writing letters in opposition. We have, which we hadn't heard yet either, is strong victim opposition, although none of them are here today. They all live in all kind of different states, and they have spoke to the VAC and voiced strong opposition to parole release. And I believe this was a violent and senseless crime committed while attempting to commit an armed robbery. I also believe that you haven't served enough time yet on a life sentence to be released. However, I commend you on your behavior while in prison. I commend you on your placement at the State Police Barracks. That says a lot about you, like they said. So, but today I cannot vote to grant you release today, but I encourage you to keep up the good work at State Police and apply again when you're eligible. So I vote to deny today.
Mrs. Ledoux.
Mr. Mingo, there is a purpose for the Miller ruling by the Supreme Court. It's amazing to see what 16-year-olds get involved in. There's so many positives. I have a grid that I work from that prioritizes public safety as number one. It's kind of like that's the pinnacle. After public safety, I consider everything else. Okay. Based on what I've heard of your rehabilitative process, I am not concerned about public safety with you. I don't believe you have served a very long time for this. You do have opposition, but your rehabilitative process has been great. Your conduct is great, and you do have good plans. So my vote today would be to grant with a lot of conditions placed upon you. Number one, that you would stay at least 6 months in the area of the Parole Project for intensive rehabilitative purposes and reintegration into society, because that's very important. You went away as a young man and the world has changed. So that would be one of my concerns, is that you would have that opportunity and that you go to Georgia for the remainder of your sentence, but knowing that you will be on supervision for life. Okay, so that's my vote to that. That's my vote to that.
All right, thank you. Mr. Mingo, as I mentioned, I sat on your panel in 2022, and I think you've done really well since then. You've explained why you were not able to redo the victim awareness. Your attorney has given us the dates of completion for both victim awareness and the victim accountability letter program. I too am impressed with what you've done so far. I don't think there's anything else you can do except serve more time. I'm not sure what purpose that serves. I do respect the victim's position. They suffered great loss, but I'm impressed with the plan that's been put in place for you with the Parole Project and then on to Georgia. So I would vote, it requires a unanimous vote. So the die has already been cast in your case. My vote would be to grant parole to the Parole Project Transition Plan, to do the Victim Listen and Learn program prior to going to Georgia. But as mentioned, it requires a unanimous vote. So today, sir, your parole's been denied. Good luck to you, Mr. Mingo.
You have any further?
All right, our next case also is at the police barracks, and that's Mr. Goodwin. I don't see him on the screen. There he is. All right, Mr. Goodwin, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
My name is Joshua Goodwin, DOC number 446437.
All right, and I see we have someone else who's joined us there in addition to Captain Washington. Sir, would you introduce yourself?
Yes, Lieutenant Jeremy Burns.
All right. Welcome, Lieutenant Burns. We appreciate, and I assume you'll be giving us some input in a moment?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Mr. Goodwin is represented by counsel. Counsel, would you enter your name in the record, please?
Good morning again, Jane Hutchison, here on behalf, Counsel for the Louisiana Parole Project, here on behalf of Mr. Joshua Goodwin.
Okay, thank you. And also here with us in Lafayette, in support, who'll be speaking is Mr. Andrew Hundley. Mr. Goodwin, let me just explain the process briefly. I'm going to read some information into the record, just identifying information. I'll ask you to verify that it's correct. And then we'd like for you to take a moment to tell us what got you to jail, why are you here, and why do you think we should vote to parole you today? Then we'll hear from the captain and the lieutenant, and then we'll hear from those, Mr. Hundley and your attorney, before we begin our interview process with you. Your case has been assigned to Mr. Barra, who is seated to my left. He'll take that lead. Okay, you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Mr. Goodwin, you are classified as a first felony offender. You're currently serving a 40-year sentence. You were sentenced in West Carroll Parish, July 17th, 2001, to 40 years for a manslaughter conviction. Your parole eligibility date is August 13, 2024, and your mandatory good time release date is January 16, 2033. Is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay, thank you. Would you tell us then why are you in jail, your version, and then why do you think we ought to vote favorably for you today?
I'm in prison. Forgive me. I'm in prison for the death of my father. In 1999, I was arrested for the shooting death of my father. Sorry.
It's okay, take your time. All right, we'll get into that in a moment when we start the interview. So tell us what you've done since you've been in prison that makes you worthy of parole consideration today. How about that?
Yes, ma'am. From day one of my incarceration, I have done everything in my power not to be, that impulsive, upset, lonely kid that I was. I have did my absolute best to achieve my education. I got my GED as soon as I was made available to me. I became a tutor as soon as I got my GED, so that I could help other people attain their GED and learn how to read. I did most of my time in Wind Correctional. Even though I was denied some things because I had a lot of time, I made it a point to get into everything that I possibly could because I wanted to give back. So, in in every possible way that I could do it. It's real emotional for me. I got myself on the maintenance crew there after I did a few years in the garment factory, running a warehouse, because I couldn't get into Votex. So they hired me on the maintenance crew, and I made it a point to learn everything I possibly could about the trade, because it put me in a position not only to help myself, but to help other people. And that means something to me. The work I do is an outlet for me to give back, because that's something I feel that I've got to do. I was fortunate enough to get interviewed for the police barracks in 2015. And when they came here, they gave me the opportunity to work on myself even more, because as we all know, in prison, kindness is perceived as weakness most of the time. But here, I was able to express that and give back in ways I never thought possible. It's everything I thought and hoped it would be. I was able to get back in school and get my EPA certification in HVAC as a universal technician. I was able to get the KG raise pre-release. I was able to achieve level 2 in electrical in NCER through BR Batteries Community College when they came here. And I'm trusted enough to have a shop area to where I have 2 students that I'm mentoring in HVAC, teaching them the trade and giving them life skills and showing them moral direction, because I see myself in these people. Everything I have achieved has been by the grace of good people around me. Forgive me. I've been fortunate enough to be trusted and respected, and even considered an acquaintance, sometimes a friend, through the law enforcement officers that I work with, which means a lot to me, because it is humbling. So it lets me know that I'm on the right path, that I'm doing the right things. It's just, if I'm given the opportunity for parole, I'm lucky enough to have the support of these officers who have extended their hand to me and their help. These are the people that I'm going to surround myself with, continue to surround myself with, because having their respect is not something that I take lightly. It's something that you earn each and every day. And I know why I'm in prison. I've never denied it. And it is heartbreaking for me and everybody. If given an opportunity, I plan on putting as much good as I can in the world, because that's the only thing I can do is to serve others. It's the best thing I can do until the day I die. Something I have to do because of my dad. That's the best way I know how to say it, man.
Okay. You did good. Thank you. Let's hear from those folks. Captain, can you tell us about Mr. Goodwin? Are you going to let the lieutenant talk, or you?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Okay.
Good morning. I've got 26 and a half years that I've been with this department. In that time, I have come to know less than 5 individuals that I would put my name on the line for. And I can tell you that this man sitting to my right is one of them. I don't know in my time here, somebody that's been incarcerated, have I ever met a more genuine person that is more concerned about anybody else above himself. So much so that in my tenure I had here, where I was in that seat over there, this man right here was the first one I would go to bounce some ideas off of him, to see how it would be perceived by the population. Aside from that, the class he spoke of, he actually came to me before he did it to give me the idea that he saw other guys that were incarcerated with him that were getting out soon. And he saw the skills that were lacking, and he knew the skills that he had. So he asked me if he could start a class teaching how to install light switches, outlets, fix air conditioners, install ceiling fans, working on refrigerators, whatever. He asked if he could do that. And of course, we allowed him. He doesn't do it during the day. That's not his job. That's what he does on his spare time. But what's to me more impressive than that is not just that, but it's in the last several months where I've had other inmates who aren't really quick to show appreciation for another inmate have pulled me to the side to tell me how much they appreciate this class, how much they've gotten out of it, and how they wish this happened more than what it does. So other than that, I can just tell you, I didn't know Josh before he came here, before 2015. I'm glad to know him now. And if he is granted today, or if he stays here, I will be happy to know him for the rest of my life. So thank you.
Thank you. Captain, anything to add?
There's nothing else I can say that would top what's already been said. We put a great deal of faith and trust in the people that we have here. And Josh is one of the people that no matter what's going on, whether it's a gate that doesn't work at 2 o'clock in the morning or an air conditioner that went out, if we call him, he's coming, and he's going to come with a smile on his face. And he does the job. He figures it out, and he makes it work for us. So we're glad to call him our friend.
Thank you. Mr. Hunley, could we hear from the Parole Project?
Thank you, Andrew Hunley, with Louisiana Parole Project here to confirm to the board today that Josh is a client of our organization. If he were to be granted parole release, we offer him long-term housing in Baton Rouge, where he would remain with us for the foreseeable future, not only while he is completing our reentry program that's designed to help people who have spent long periods of incarceration reintegrate back into the community, but also to help him rebuild his life in an area away from where the crime was committed. Also stand before you today. This is a unique situation, but we're prepared to offer Josh employment with our organization. As you're probably aware from your notes, he's a pretty skilled HVAC and electrical technician, has a lot of responsibility with state police. Louisiana Parole Project operates a few dozen residential properties for transitional housing, so we quite frequently have to use private contractors for HVAC and electrical work. So we would be prepared to offer Mr. Goodwin a full-time job with competitive pay and benefits. So he would truly be a long-term, not only client, but asset for our organization if he is released. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hutchinson?
Yes, thank you, board. As you can see, the Joshua that you meet today is extremely remorseful and hurt by the crime that he committed. And this has been his true feelings and sentiments the entire time I've spent with him. That pain that he feels and that from being both the person that took his father's life and losing his father. And so if I can, I just kind of want to maybe go over a couple things with the board that Joshua may not be able to get out today. I know we talked about Miller a little bit in the previous hearing, but one thing Miller talks about is that the court discusses the need to take into account the family and home environment surrounding child offenders from which they cannot usually extricate themselves, no matter how brutal or dysfunctional. If you've had the opportunity to look at the brief, you'll see that Joshua's life up until the crime was marred with dysfunction and brutality. Countless times he was sent to state hospitals by his mother and put on medication, sent to foster homes, sent to live with various family members until they kind of decided they didn't want him and they pass him along. And that environment stayed like that up until the crime. If you read through it, you'll see he had been staying with an uncle, and then the uncle put him out. And from there, he went on to his father's. But if we can talk about the Joshua today, we would discuss his institutional compliance and his ability to be at the police barracks all of this time. With only 7 disciplinary infractions in 25 years, the last one being over 12 years ago. I often look at Joshua's GED performance and wonder how great he would have been if he had just been given the mere opportunity to not live in dysfunction. He scored in the top 1% of test takers for literacy and reading, which was why they pulled him to be a tutor. He could have done amazing things in school had he been given the opportunity as a child, but his life was so unstable that prison provided him the most stable opportunity to get his GED. What he won't tell you is that when he joined the maintenance team so that he could learn HVAC because he wasn't eligible for vocational school, the person who was in charge of HVAC only had one leg, and Joshua would put him on his back and bring him up to the units so that he could learn, and that they gave him books that he would read in the evening because he actually wasn't able to do the coursework. When he talks to you about redemption through service, he really means it. The first thing he said to me was, I want to be able to still come back to the barracks and implement a program so that these guys can get additional training so that they can come home and do things, do more things and have more ability. In 2013, Joshua came before this board for a clemency hearing. At the time, he was not eligible for discretionary parole. At the time, there was a speaker, Mr. Randall Dollar, who spoke on behalf of supporting Joshua. And I just wanted the board to know that in the last 11 years, Mr. Dollar is a little bit older, so he was not able to travel, but he wanted to make sure the board knew that he calls Joshua a precious person and that he and his wife are still here to support him. Also at that hearing, his aunt, Miss Carlin Goodwin, was there. She was the sister of the victim, and she also spoke in support of Joshua. And I just wanted to make sure the record did reflect that previously there were members of the family that spoke in support. I know that typically the board looks at when someone takes a plea deal, as Joshua did, and got a 40-year sentence for manslaughter, there's often a conversation about them serving that time because they would have essentially got a break. I do want to, if I could, direct the board at least to page 8 of my brief. At the time, Joshua took the plea agreement in which his attorney, the sheriff's office, the district attorney's office, his attorney and the family were present. The question came before the court whether or not Joshua would have to serve the full 40 years. And the court said that while the judge couldn't remember the exact amount of time, he believed it would be between 50 to 85%. So 50 on the low end, 85% on the high end. He wasn't quite sure what it was. So I do want the board to know that the family would have known at the time that Joshua would have been eligible to be released prior to the 40 years, the completion of the 40-year sentence, and he's right at about 63%. He has a strong rehabilitation plan with the Louisiana Parole Project. We've already identified the additional courses that he can take with Baton Rouge Community College, and he also has a detailed trauma and grief plan with our social worker that I do believe Mr. Huntley has a copy of if you'd like to see, because we do want, as you are able to see, he is still very much traumatized by all that has transpired, and we'd like to be able to support his mental health as he goes forward. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Sorry. Mr. Byron, it's your case. You want to take the lead?
All right, Mr. Goodwin, I'm gonna help you with some of the hard part and get the facts of the case on the record. On August 12th, 1999, police received a call that Roy Goodwin was found dead in his home. On the 13th, the coroner determined that Goodwin died from close contact gunshot wound to the head. He also reported he had found buckshot in the pillow that was under the victim's head. It was learned that Roy's son, Joshua, had recently moved in with him, but Joshua was nowhere to be found. During the investigation, police interviewed Charles Summerall, who told them that Joshua told him he had killed his father. When Joshua was arrested, he admitted to killing his father, but he did not mean to do it. He said he was abused by his father, and he went and got a gun. Joshua said his father charged him and grabbed the gun, and the gun went off, killing him. So I just got one tough question. Why did you think that that was the answer and not just leave?
I didn't think, sir. I wish to God I would have. Every single day, I did not think. I acted impulsively. I was upset. I was angry from the fight we had been having. I didn't think, sir, and I've spent every single day since then wishing to God that I had. Because I know the pain. I want. I'm sorry. I'm responsible for taking my dad's life, and I wanted to destroy my whole family. And I would give anything in this world to undo it, but I know I cannot. My answer to your question, sir, is that I did not think. That I was upset, I was angry, and I acted impulsively. And I wish to God I had not. I'm sorry for all the pain I have caused, because I feel it each and every day, and I will for the rest of my days. It's been so long.
All right, that answers it good enough for me. Let me give you an easy question now. What do you consider your biggest accomplishment while you're incarcerated?
Helping other people know that they can talk to people, that they're not alone, that violence is not the answer. I've spent a long time and got to know a lot of different offenders. Some of them in similar circumstances. And it's always made me feel the most accomplishment when I can help other people and know that they are better people because of it. And it helps me be a better person, because that's all I can do is try to put good back in the world, sir. That's my biggest accomplishment, is helping other people. And it will be, and it will continue to be, sir.
Right. That sounds good. Thank you for that. Also, I gotta commend you on all the letters that I've seen from officials at the State Police Barracks and letters of recommendation that you've obviously done a tremendous job with everything you put your hand to over there. So congratulations on that one. That's all the question I have.
Ms. Ledoux?
We have nearly 200 pages in your file. And I've read all of them. And it includes everything. And I just wanted to make note that in your disciplinary conduct, your reports, you have 7 write-ups, but you only had 3 bad days. Because on 2 of those, you got 3 write-ups for different infractions. So it looks to me like you've only had 3 really bad days in prison in terms of conduct. And that's notable because we see far greater many times. So I commend you for your conduct. And since you've been at the State Barracks, is it 9 years?
Yes, ma'am.
You've only had praise. So I don't have anything else.
Thank you. So Joshua, how old were you when this happened?
I was 17, man.
And how old are you today?
I'm 42, be 40 in January.
And at the age of 17, what grade had you completed in school?
The 8th grade, ma'am. I dropped out when I was 14 years old.
And do you know why you dropped out?
Yes, ma'am. I tried to get odd jobs. I was living with my mother at the time. So I was trying to help her pay the bills. We were living in a housing authority in Ruston at the time, and I had 2 little sisters. I was just trying to help her, so I quit going to school and went to work.
Yeah, I read that all in the record, but I thought it was important for you to say it. And I am so impressed with the good work you've been doing, helping others. It's very impressive. I don't think we have any other questions. I think we're ready to vote, and Mr. Barrow will be voting first.
All right, Mr. Goodwin. I've taken note that in this case, there's no opposition from the victim's family, which obviously is your family too. So they all have forgiven you and they are recommending you to be released, which makes a big part of my decision easy. That you are 17 years old at the time of the offense, that you have a good reentry plan with Parole Project, that you have a good record in prison, that you're a true first offender, that you have numerous letters of recommendation from prison staff. So all of that taken into consideration, I'm going to vote to grant your parole conditionally, that you follow the special condition of complete that victim class that Mr. Hunley was just talking about, since it doesn't look like you had a whole lot of opportunity at State Police to take that. So take the victim class with Parole Project, that you remain with the Parole Project for at least 1 year, but that doesn't look like that's going to be a problem either. And that you speak to at-risk children and let them know how one bad decision can wreck your life for a long time. And ask that that be arranged by the Parole Project until he's released from y'all, and then that'll go to the probation officer. And I would say quarterly on that. So good luck to you.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Ledoux.
You know, Joshua, I would like to say emotional responses don't move me. Okay, but they do. I'm not negating your feelings of remorse, but I tell you what does move me, and that is demonstrated work ethic and rehabilitation. And you have done that. There's a saying that I have, and many people may remember it from my time previously on the board, but I would live next door to you. Okay. So my vote today is to grant parole with the condition that you do not live in the parish of conviction again.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. And Joshua, I also, I want to note just for the record that there is opposition, law enforcement, but those who responded, they oppose everybody. So we consider that what we call blanket opposition. And the new opposition is from the Attorney General's office. But based on the same reasons that my colleagues have said, particularly from my point of view, the community service work that you've done, it speaks volumes to me. So my vote today would be to grant you parole with the same special conditions. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Just do it.
That concludes our business at the barracks. So we're going to sign out. It is 10:30. Okay, go back. The Committee on Parole is reconvening. We're at Dixon Correctional Institute now. Today is Tuesday, November 19th, 2024. It's 10:39 a.m. Again, my name is Cheryl Renazza, serving as chairman of today's panel. My colleagues on the panel seated to my left, Mr. Danny Byron, to my right, Mrs. Jerry Ledoux. There we go. And good morning. Would the staff at DCI please introduce yourself for the record?
Hey, good morning, Mr. Nasser, Deputy Warden Keith Turner.
Classification Manager Donald Cavalier.
Reentry Director Alvin King. Curtis Thurman, Assistant Director of Mental Health.
Amanda Sagely, Records. Thank you. We appreciate you accommodating us today. We are at the University of Lafayette, University of Louisiana in Lafayette, with the Criminal Justice Association, I guess, class. And we have our first case. Is that Mr. Smith? Mr. Smith, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
My name Tyrone Smith, 390-888.
All right, Mr. Smith, and I see you have some folks there with you. Would you tell us who your guests are that are seated behind you?
Your family. I got my daughter, Tyrone. I got my sister, Sarita Smith. I got my mother, Elizabeth Smith, and I got my baby mama, Kanisha Williams.
Okay. And we also have, trying to join us by Zoom, I think, is your uncle, Noah Smith. Will any of your guests who are there at DCI, do they wish to speak on your behalf?
Yeah, I got my sister.
All right.
Sister Sarita Smith.
We'll call on Sarita at the appropriate time to speak on your behalf. Also joining us, who are here in opposition, we have Betty Castle, Edward Castle, Montrell McCrae, and Lakeisha, the victim's sister, who is also here in opposition. And we'll hear from those who've indicated they want to speak. We'll do that at the appropriate time. First, Tyrone, I'm going to read some information into the record, is identifying information, and ask you to verify if it's correct. Then we want you to tell us, take a moment and tell us, why are you in jail? And why do you think we should vote to parole you today? Then we'll hear from the warden, and we'll hear from Ms. Sarita, and then we'll hear from the folks who are here in opposition, and then we'll begin our parole interview with you. Okay? Ready? You've been through this process before, haven't you?
No.
Okay. So, Mr. Smith, you are classified as a second felony offender. You're currently serving a 50-year sentence. You were sentenced in Terrebonne Parish for attempted manslaughter and manslaughter in April of 2002. Your parole eligibility date was November 9th, 2022. You have a good time date, mandatory release date, which is February 12, 2043. Is that information correct?
Yes.
All right, so take a moment now and tell the panel, why are you in jail?
I've been jail on a manslaughter charge. We had got into a fight one night at a club, and tragically, the victim ended up losing his life for an incident that transpired. And if I could take back what I did, I'm truly sorry for what I did, but it was a tragic accident that happened, that we had gotten into an altercation, and it was some guy that tried to, it was just a tragic accident, man.
What did you do? What was your role in it?
I had a gun, and I shot 2 warning shots in the air to try to get the dudes to back off me, and they kept pursuing me. So I shot a warning shot into the ground, and then a few BBs from the gun ricocheted and hit a guy and killed him. This one BB killed the dude artery, and he ended up bleeding. This one BB off a regular rabbit shot from a shotgun. And it wasn't nothing like, like a crime like I tried to do. I just tried to defuse the situation by getting them away from it, by just shooting it to the ground. I shot 2 warning shots in the air, and like you said, I didn't deliberately shoot this person, like just walk up to him and shoot him like that. By the bullet skipping off the ground, there's one BB ended up penetrating him, and then he ended up dying. And that's a tragic accident that happened, and I'm sorry for that, but here again, I'm remorseful for what I did.
All right, considering that, tell us, since you've been in prison, why do you think we ought to vote for you today?
Being in prison, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about people, and about, I got my GED, I got an ocean card, I got pre-release, and I got anger management, and I'm a barber, and being a barber for so many years, taught me how to communicate with different attitudes, and helping people, talking to people, the younger guys, mentoring the people. Prison taught me a lot about this, not so fast to react to the situation or thinking the situation out and the cause and effect you're having. It's not just helping you, but it helping your family and other people's family. It just affects, it's a whole ripple effect. It affects everybody that's in, it just don't affect me, it affects everybody.
Warden, what can you tell us about Mr. Smith?
This was nice. I've been knowing Tyrone for some time now. We got it here in 2008. Early on during his incarceration, he appeared to have some disciplinary issues that he seemed to have gotten corrected. He's only had 1 disciplinary report the last 12 years. He's completed a victim's impact. Like he said, he's got an OSHA certification, and he's also gotten his GED since he's been incarcerated. And I have a letter here that I'd like to read to the board. It was from one of the shift supervisors here. On June 1st, 2024, inmate Tyrone Smith, 390-888, provided valuable assistance and security. Inmate Smith, while on the yard, observed security responding to an inmate attempting to hang himself on the yard gate. Inmate Smith assisted the officer by grabbing the inmate's legs and the other inmate up as security cut the inmate down. The inmate survived the incident due to, in part, inmate Smith's health. So he's done a lot of good things since we've had him, Mr. Natsa, and like I said, I'm pretty proud of the guy that he's become over the past, several years that I've known.
Thank you. And, let me ask you a question, Warden. In our record, there shows a write-up in November of 2020 for a 30C.
Yes, ma'am.
What was that about?
He was a barber. He was going back into the maximum security area, and he took a package that had contraband in it back into the maximum security area and given it to another inmate that was housed back there.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying that for us. Now we'd like to hear from your sister, Ms. Sarita.
Good morning. I'm Sarita, one of Tyrone's younger sisters. Tyrone has been incarcerated for the last 23 years. And the reason why I say he deserves a second chance is over the last 23 years, I have been by my brother's side and I've noticed, a huge change in him dramatically. When this incident happened, I was only 18 years old and now 41. And I know that Tyrone has changed a lot because I've seen a lot. I come to visit all the time. I always get calls from wardens and saying, the good things that he's done. I also know he, got his GED, a while back. He's, completed all the courses that they've asked him to complete. Tyrone is my motivation to stay, afloat and keep things going. I know he's going to be good out and he gets back out in the world. I'm ready for him to come home and help him succeed. I have things lined up as far as job wise for him to get a job. Me and my other brother has also started like a car detailing business, a landscaping business. I mean, there's many things that I can get him to do. If he want to work with me, he can come work with me. I do disaster recovery. I have been doing that for the last 16 years. I'm a supervisor and also data manager in disaster recovery for FDOT in Florida. So it's like, I think it seems like a lot, and I know he's been incarcerated for a long time. I just feel like he deserves a second chance. Like you said before, it was a mishap that happened 23 years ago, and I know he wish he could take that back. And I wish I could take it back also. Somebody lost a loved one, and he deserves a second chance. And this is probably his third parole hearing that I've been to. And I try to come here with, good spirits and good faith all the time to pray that he gets a second chance at life.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate your input.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll hear from the victim's family, Miss Betty Counsel.
Ma'am?
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Betty Counsel. I'm the mother of Isaiah Counsel, the one that tragically got murdered. And what I'm speaking, it's kind of hurt. Tyrone Smith never admit and never say apologize that we going through, and never say he was sorry. But that's all the things that I hear. And the thing what hurt me, what he's saying, that he shot on the ground. But that didn't happen. My child, if it was, he got the blow of everything, pellet bullets all in his face and stuff. And I had to go to the hospital to see all that. Now time, even a family member got up there, they were sorry. Nobody did never apologize. I went through a lot with the family, getting angry with me. I'm the one going through. I don't care when it got 30 degrees, that's not gonna bring my child back. And a second, if I can have a second chance to get Isaiah to come back, it would be good. I get emotion because I went through a lot and still going through a lot, grieving a lot. This never go away, that losing a child, that a mother then lost a child, taken from not being sick, but murdered. Just forgive me, this gets a little bit, but it just, oh God, just bear with me. Like, going to the hospital, seeing my child got the blow, its main artery and stuff. And, you had time to think about what you did. You went home and got a gun and came back. So you know what you was doing.
Yes, Ms.
Castle,
would you address your remarks to the panel and not Mr.
Oh,
Smith?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm sorry. I didn't want to get my daughter just get on. I'm catching a bad headache of this.
Yes, ma'am.
Keisha, you want to come speak, because it's really these saying that somebody want a second chance in what you did, and then I don't want to the bold that just seeing lies, and just would just this hurt me, just take my heart away from that. My child not going to come back. they have holidays. You can see, you can talk, but I'm gonna let my daughter and then my husband talk.
Yes,
I'm gonna go last. I'm gonna go last.
Hi. Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Isaiah's older sister. This hard right here, but it's just hard because, like I said, my brother can't come in front of y'all and ask, can he come back? He's gone forever. I can never see my brother, can never talk to my brother. My brother don't have a second chance at all. He can't come back.
They try.
Mr. Edward?
No.
Ms. Montreal?
Keisha, bring me a cold towel.
Just introduce yourself, please, and tell us your relationship to the victim.
Good morning. This is Montreal McKay. Isaiah was my first cousin.
Okay.
I'm the one that got into the verbal altercation with Tyrone. It was verbal, nothing physical. I like my family to say, once we got this phone call, I think August 2nd, nobody has been sleeping. This has opened up a door that I struggled with depression for over 15 years with this. So I really hate to come here, but I know I have an obligation for my family and I have to come here. But I don't sleep. I deal with depression. I have PTSD. I have all that. Imagine having to go into your house because you were shot and check every closet door because you were paranoid. This is what I deal with. I don't make any excuses. This is my life. There's nothing I can do about it. As far as second chances, I mean, it's about consequences. If I go out there and I hurt someone, no matter if I want a second or third chance or not, I have to deal with the consequences. You have to deal with the consequences. Tyrone's life is not in jeopardy. I mean, from going home, coming shooting the crowd, and saying that he fired 2 warning shots, that's incorrect. He did not fire 2 warning shots. Those shots came directly at us. If you check the trajectory of it, I still have the holes in me to this day. The trajectory are straight. It was never, ever bouncing from the ground. I know you want y'all to believe that. That's not accurate. That's not accurate. And like I said, this is rough. I just lost my mama 2 years ago, so this is rough for me. Around the holidays, so this is not easy. But again, that story is not accurate. And if you're talking about rehabilitation, rehabilitation starts with accountability. It starts with accountability. There's no such thing as second chances because we don't have a second chance. Isaiah's my best friend. I don't have a second chance. I have to endure this every day. And I know my pain does not outweigh my uncle and my aunties, but I have a life sentence, they have a life sentence. So how dare he say you want a second chance? That's so disrespectful. So disrespectful. And if you're gonna go for the board, go with honesty. That's all I ask, go with honesty.
Thank you, Mr. McCray. Is Mr. Edward going to say anything?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. This is Mr. Counsel, Isaiah Day. And I could say that every time this comes up, it seems like every time this comes up, Isaiah gets shot over and over and over again. I'm the one that went to the hospital thinking that he still was alive. They held me in there for 45 minutes while my family was grieving. I had to go to somebody and say, look, I need to see my son. Whether he's dead or alive, I need to see him. After 45 minutes of going through all this trauma, I had that opportunity to go see him. And I could also say that when I did go look at the Bible, I saw something that I'll never, ever forget. I can't even sleep at night. I saw pellets all in the side of his face, a hole in his side. Main artery was cut in half. Do that sound like a pellet? That's not a pellet. He was shot brutally. And I'll never forget the picture as long as I live. He cannot get a second chance. And this man asking for a second chance. How would you like to go see your child in the hospital with the side blowed open? And that's all I got to say. And one more thing. This man went before a jury. He was convicted. He was guilty. He went toward the judge and the judge said, time, gave him time to do. Let him do his time and stop trying to get out. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Castle. All right, Mr. Smith. So you last appeared before a parole panel in 2022. And I'm sorry, before I go on to Mr. Smith, I want to acknowledge that Noah Smith has been able to join us and had a few words to say in support. I'd like to hear from him now. You're still on mute.
I want to thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak.
We're having trouble hearing you, sir.
Trouble hearing me?
Yeah. Mm-mm. Can you get closer to the microphone?
Hear me now?
A little bit. It's better.
Better?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As I listen at the family, I understand the hurt and the pain that they have gone through, and for the loss of their loved ones. I'm a pastor. I've been preaching 42 years, and I understand the pain. But I think about my nephew, my rehabilitation, the things that he done, and we're trying to help him by all means necessary to get his life back on the right track. We have ministries at our churches that I spoke to him recently about that he can join to help the young people, help me to help the young people to restore their lives back to normal. As I speak today, and I'm thinking about a test that the significant changes that Ty has made. He's not the same person that he was. He's not the same person. The person he went in is not the same person that we talked to today. He is a brand new person. And I know he has changed because I speak to him and I'm willing to work with him by any means necessary if he's paroled today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. All right, Tyrone. We'll start your parole interview now, and your case was assigned to me, so I'm going to take the lead. I was on your parole panel back in 2022, I think, yeah, May of 2022, when you were denied parole. And we said then that the reason you were denied was, of course, because of the victim opposition, which has not changed, law enforcement opposition, which has not changed, and that you needed programs. So you tell us, what programs have you been able to take advantage of since May of 2022?
Living in down, victim impact, pre-release bullshit. I got my GED. And I'm glad I got my GED because I feel like, man, that was a big accomplishment for me. So I feel like I could accomplish anything when I got the GED. I didn't look at it that big and as being as big before y'all told me to go get it. And I'm glad y'all told me to go get it because that made me feel 100%, you know, like a weight was relief on my shoulder. Like I could accomplish anything once I got that GED.
Well, good. Congratulations. I see you did that in November of 2023. Tell us, after hearing the pain from the victims and what they've said, what did you get out of victim impact? You completed that in June of 23.
The victim impact, I knew they had a such thing as sympathy, but I didn't know they had a such word as sympathy. So they got sympathy and empathy. I learned about empathy, to have empathy for other people. You know, I just know about sympathy, but they opened my eyes up to the word empathy. So I'm glad I took that class of also.
What concerns me is reading the record, and we have many pages and many volumes in your record, and reading the legal accounts of what occurred and listening to the victim's family and what you said happened, it doesn't match.
Right, it doesn't match, but if you can see the, the, the police report, or what you call it, from the hospital, you will see that I didn't maliciously shoot or try to kill this man. You will see that there was one pellet. His guts wasn't hanging all out. His organs wasn't hanging out.
Well, I don't want to get into those details. I'm just concerned that it doesn't match. And one thing you said in the beginning, whenever you described the incident, you said it was just an accident, but then you admitted that you actually shot Mr. Matthews on purpose.
I didn't shoot him on purpose. I said I shot him into the ground. I shot 2 warning shots into the air. Then I shot the gun into the ground. And by the BB, if you know anything about hunting, you're using regular rabbit shot, and you got pellets. The little pellets skimmed up off the ground and made like a little scatter. And one BB hit him and penetrated the organ, and that's how he tragically passed away. I didn't maliciously shoot this guy. I'm not that type of guy that just walk around.
What about Larry Matthews?
Well, but that was the same thing. By them being in a crowd, when I shot the BBs ricochet off the ground, when they scattered up off the ground, it made like and that's how he ended up getting hit too. He didn't even receive really no medical treatment. I think he was like in and out like that. He didn't receive no medical treatment like that. You know, like you said, all that is in my police report and in the file. If you know anything about hunting and you hunt with regular rabbit shot, bird shot, it's not gonna, you have to be real close up on a person to cause real body harm. But we had distance between us. We was like 30 feet or something apart. When they was trying to pull me, I was trying to get them in the back. When I was shot to the ground, the BB ricocheted up off the ground.
Why'd you have a gun?
Because, you know, we from the country, so that's what we do. I go hunting, we go hunting a lot. We got beagle, rabbit dog, deer dog, so we go hunting a lot. And in my area, we keep a shotgun in our, you know, on the back window of your truck or in your car, in the trunk of your car. So we
Well, Mr. Smith, at that time, weren't you a convicted felon in possession of a firearm? Your first offense was distribution of cocaine, 2 counts, and you received a 5-year sentence for that. That's why you're classified as a second offender. All right, let's move on. Yeah, I just still have a different account than what happened. I do note that you turned yourself in. I am pleased to hear the remarks that the warden said about you, your improved conduct. That was concerning, but it has improved. And the letter that he read to us was very impressive in how you were there to help others. I'm going to just sit back and listen to my colleagues if they have any questions. Mr. Bauer?
You covered it.
Yes, I do. All right. I think, Mr. Smith, that concludes our interview. So I guess we're prepared to vote, and I'll vote first. Based on my conversation with you today, listening to the victims, considering the opposition, strong opposition from the victims, and again, the Attorney General, the District Attorney, and of course, law enforcement are opposed to an early release. And, you know, I still don't think you've taken full responsibility and accountability for what happened and what you did. My vote today is to deny your parole. Mr. Byron?
I vote to deny your parole too, based on the same as Ms. Renata.
Mrs. Ledoux?
Mr. Smith, I'm glad you learned the term empathy and victim awareness. I think that Ms. Renata hit the nail on the head. I think you need to learn the term responsibility. My vote today is to deny your parole based on all the factors we've discussed.
All right, Mr. Smith, you got some more work to do. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
We are ready for our last case of the day. That's Mr. Stucky, and he's at DCI also. Mr. Stucky, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number, please. Oh, yeah, I think y'all are still on mute, maybe?
Can you hear Mr. Now?
Yes, we can.
Gilbert Stucky. DOC is 533494.
All right, Mr. Stucky, good morning. You've been through this process before. I think this is your third parole hearing, but we do it a little bit different now, so I'll explain it to you once again. I'm going to read some identifying information into the record, ask you to confirm that it's correct. Then we want you to take a moment and tell us why you're in jail, what brought you to jail, and why do you think we should vote favorably for you today? And then we'll hear from the warden and any others who've indicated they'd like to speak. You ready? I think did it go back on mute?
You're still here.
All right. Okay. All right, Mr. Stucky, you are classified as a second felony offender. You're currently serving a 20-year sentence. You were sentenced in East Baton Rouge Parish in July of 2011 for second-degree battery and as a habitual offender for cruelty to the infirmed. You have a parole eligibility date, which was October 9th, 2024, and your mandatory good time release date is October 14, 2028. Does all that sound accurate?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, take a moment, Mr. Stucky, then, and tell us why you're in jail and why do you think we should vote favorably for you today for parole?
Jail, because I had a fight with my mother. Hit her twice during this fight.
You have to speak up a little bit so we can hear you good.
I got into a fight with my mother. It was a heated argument, and I hit her twice, struck her twice during this argument. That's why I came to jail. Right there.
So you got in a fight with your mother, you hit her twice. And so that's why you're in jail serving a 20-year sentence. So why do you think, after you've been in jail all these years, why do you think we ought to grant you parole?
Well, the fact, like I said, at that time, it was a family thing. It was a heat of the moment type deal. I'm not a bad person. I don't go through my life being mad at people or angry or looking for fights, anything to that effect. Real positive guy. And all this time now, since I've been incarcerated, I had to prove to myself and of course the mom at that time. She passed away back in 2015, but I told her then, I said, I'm going to show you. And I said this to myself, I'm not going to get in trouble while I'm in jail. I mean, coming to jail is to me, is at the bottom of the barrel. And you can't get any worse than that. That's it. And of course, the only way is to get back up. And so I was on this mission for my own self to show that I mean when I say, well, I'm not going to get any more trouble. I'm not a bad guy. It's been a long time, but I've succeeded in that fact. I've stayed out of trouble. I stay away from trouble. If I see trouble over there, I'll go the other direction. There's too many land sharks in jail, you know, and basically an island to myself. I keep to myself and I know what's right. I know how they expect. I mean, it's their house rules. Here I am. Like I say, 15 years without any write-ups whatsoever. I've taken all the good time classes that I could, have a year of good time. Pre-release class here, and member of Pride, which is here, I applied for that as soon as I got here. I had to wait a year. They make you wait a year to make sure you don't get in any trouble. And then you can become a member of Pride. But so here I am. Last time here, I was, it was pretty much the same thing, but 2 more years had passed. And they told me I needed a little bit more time to reflect. That was pretty much what I got out of it. That's what I've been doing.
All right. Well, Warden, what can you tell us about Mr. Stucky?
Well, we haven't had any issues with Stucky, Mr. Knox, since he's been here. Like you said earlier, he's been here with us about 13 years. He's remained totally right up free for the entire time of the incarceration here. He is a Pride member, and he does what we ask him. I would like to see him release his victim's impact, either before he paroled today or before he full term out. He's that.
All right, thank you. I don't see that there's any folks who are here in support or opposition, so we'll just move right into our parole interview. That's, in your case, has been assigned to Mrs. Ledoux. Would you answer her questions?
I'm sorry, I wanted to be clear. Sir, what did you say about victim impact? Has he taken victim impact?
No, ma'am, I think he needs to at least have victim's impact class before he either paroles today or full term out.
Yes, sir, I would agree with that. Mr. Stucky, in reviewing your criminal history, was this the first time that you had a physical altercation with your mom?
No, as far as that kind of altercation, yes, but we'd had arguments before. In fact, the year before, we had another argument.
You actually got charged with something before, right?
Pardon?
You actually got charged with that crime?
Yes, that was a battery.
So this is your second crime for the fight with your mom, with a fight for with your mom.
Yeah, yeah, it was.
Okay. What are your plans if you were to be released? Where would you live?
Well, they're going to help me with to go to St. Joseph's there in Baton Rouge. I understand it's a halfway house. I can stay 6 months for free. They'll let me get myself together because I've lost everything. So I have to purchase, vehicles, clothes, food, and all that. Once I get once I get squared away, then I'd probably go back to work. I have an option. I was at work release during the same time here. I was trained for a forklift operator, crane operator by trade offshore in the Gulf. But I got my foot in the door. Actually, it was with Dow Chemical. They're across the bridge over down at Addis. But they gave me an open invitation to come back once I got released. I did well. I proved to them.
And when was that you were in work release?
Yeah, I went to work release for 2 years. That would have been right at the end of October 2015 to the end of October 2017.
I see that now. Yes, I do.
I was pulled out. DOC said they miscalculated.
Okay.
And that's why
I want you to know we did receive a letter from your brother, and he said he would leave the decision up to the board. However, he made it clear that he would not provide housing for you. So you still have some issues within the family over what you did to your mom.
concerning him, yes, I say he lives in Georgia. So
yeah. Okay, so the other thing I noticed is that you did have a substance abuse problem, both alcohol and I think other drugs. What have you done to address that? You've done living in balance. I see that.
I don't drink anymore pretty much because I can't, if I do, it'll kill me. I suffer from chronic pancreatitis, which was brought on from alcohol. It almost killed me.
So what's your sobriety plan? How are you going to maintain your sobriety?
Well, it's easy to do, I just don't want it. That's the farthest thing from you. If I drink, it'll kill me. I'm not gonna go through that pain. I was hospitalized, I got down to 86 pounds. And they handed me over to hospital. Said, see you, but I fought back. And it's taken a long time, I'm still fighting. I had an operation done here, as a matter of fact, on my stomach, due from that pancreatitis. Was brought on by alcohol. That's why I'm so thin now, because I've lost so much weight. It's just something you're not going to go through again. It'd be like having cancer. The pain is unreal. You can't describe it. And you're steady throwing your guts up constantly. That's, believe you me, it's been a long time. Alcohol, it doesn't bother me at all. People want to drink, they can drink. But not me.
Your mom passed away
Yes,
since you've been in prison.
yes, ma'am.
And I have no indication that she changed her opposition to your parole. So she was opposed to your parole several times.
Okay, she passed in March 15th, 2015. So that was still, we were still fresh with the blame game, I guess you could call it. But we had made up after that. I mean, that's what it's strange to hear that, because we was writing each other and she sent me cards, all marked, and that sort of thing. So
Son is a son forever. I get that.
Mr. Byron?
Mr. Stuckey, you said that you hit her twice, but when I read the reports, it says that you beat your mother's head into the refrigerator and then beat her down to the floor, and you told her you were going to come back to kill her, and that she was hospitalized because of that beating. Are you sure you just hit her twice?
yes, sir, I'm sure.
All right. And then I'm looking at the transcript of your habitual offender hearing, where the judge tells you, the judge says, the facts in this case are so disturbing that a man, Mr. Stuckey, would beat his mother on more than one occasion. This is the second time that you beat your mother, and I find it typical of what I've seen with you the entire time that I've been your judge. Your mother was scared to death of you, and you have a history of violence. So the judge wasn't impressed either, and I don't think he thought you hit her twice either, but okay, I was just checking to see if it was only 2 times that put her in the hospital. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Stuckey, I was going to ask you about, I noticed since 2022, you had several trips to the hospital, but I think you've explained that to us with your pancreatitis. When you were seen by the parole panel in 2023, that was January, you were denied, and there was a note made that you need substance abuse treatment and you need anger management. Now, I think you have done living in balance, I believe. I don't know if it's been since your last hearing, but what about the anger management class?
Yes, I took that when I was at Workplace. Matter of fact, I took 2 classes while I was there. They were both at night. Which was kind of tough because, I worked during the day.
Right, but that was you said while you were at work release?
Yes.
Okay, that was in 2015, and it was recommended in 23 that you take anger management. Did you ever try to sign up for that?
Well, that came up to me while I was here. I told them I'd already taken that, paid the rate. But at that time also, I had to go to the hospital because I had a prostate cancer diagnosis. I was just fixing to start that radiation treatment when they talked about the K-rate, and I told them, I said, look, I've already taken that class. there's something else that you could put me in fine, but at that time, again, I started radiation treatment. Cancer.
Right. Well, I think they would have worked with you on it. You just didn't seem to want to take it, I believe. All right, I don't see any other questions from the panel, so I think we're prepared to vote. Mrs. Ledoux?
Mr. Stuckey, according to my records, you were 49 years old when you committed this offense against your mother, and it was not your first time to do so. It's very hard to read what you did to her. I'm glad that you're taking the program that you are. I think that you need to continue to reflect on that and be more prepared for your release. My vote today is to deny.
Mr. Barra?
Mr. Stuckey, I vote to deny your parole, also citing the heinous and violent nature of the crimes against your elderly mother, 75 years old, and strong law enforcement opposition.
All right, Mr. Stuckey, I do commend you on your clean conduct record, no write-ups, that's commendable, but I still agree with the previous panel's recommendation that you need an anger management class. I also agree with the warden that you need to take a victim awareness class. So based on those reasons and the opposition that's been expressed, my vote today also is to deny. Today, Mr. Stuckey, your parole's been denied. Warden, that concludes our business at your facility, so we're going to adjourn. It's 11:35. Thank you so much.